We Got This Africa, proudly brought to you by Frytol. Frytol, you deserve to be well.
Girl, listen.
Raising a child with a disability presents a great challenge to the entire family. Research suggests that households with children with disability are prone to depression, divorce, in extreme cases, even suicide. Today, I'm going to be speaking to two very strong moms who are raising amazing children with cerebral palsy. They are going to share their challenges and, most importantly, where they draw their strength from for other moms out there watching us. You're welcome to today's show. We got this.
We got this.
And I'm joined now by two really cool moms, Irene and Mamia. You're welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
How are you ladies doing?
Yeah, we're good.
Looking good?
Nervous, but good.
Nervous? Me too. See? I'm shaking. So tell me, what's the coolest thing about your son? Let me start with you, Mommy.
His smile.
Aww.
Undisputedly, his smile. When he's happy about something, he gives you this really huge grin.
Aww.
And the world seems brighter when he does that. Yeah.
How about you, Irene?
Same.
Same.
It smiles.
Okay.
It's just overwhelming. Let me see.
Overwhelming? In a good way?
Yes.
In a good way.
Sometimes
What makes him smile?
when he hears my voice.
Okay.
Yes, mostly, and even my sight alone.
When he sees
Yeah,
you.
when he sees.
Are you with him often?
Yes.
Okay.
Though I leave him, go to work and come back. Immediately I come, he's always
Do
in.
you have a full-time job?
Yes.
Ah. How about you, Mommy?
Yes, I have a full-time job.
How do you do it?
You wake up and you move.
Wow. Now, I know how hard it is to be a mom to start with, you know, just be a mom. And I can't imagine actually how tough it must be to be a mom of a child with special needs. Let's start from the beginning. Like, when did you first discover that your sons had special needs, Mommy?
So with my son, he suddenly started to seize, like having seizures. We didn't know what seizures looked like. We had no idea what was going on. And I thought even that he didn't want to eat because I noticed that he was stiffening when I was trying to feed him. So up until that point, I had no idea that something was, he was about
How
6
old was
months
he?
old at the time.
6 months old?
Yes. So it was really sudden. And we were out of Accra. We were at Wesley Girls actually for a speech day. So I thought it was the sirens going that was startling him, and we said, "Oh, it's time to go home." We didn't know anything until about 2 days later at the hospital when they noticed that he was had stiff joints and everything. That they said, "Look, let's do some tests on his brain and see what's going on." So it wasn't until about 6.5 months that in about 2 weeks later we discovered that he'd lost his vision, and it was just back to back things. Just
Lost his vision?
Yes, we just within a space of 2 weeks we lost vision, we lost any sound beyond crying, and no movement at all. He even forgot how to suckle, so breastfeeding was impossible. I mean, he lost everything. It was just a really sudden thing for us.
Wow.
Yeah. I have edited the story, so it'll be fast. But yes, essentially that's what happened.
Ooh. Wow. How about you, Irene?
Mine was at birth. I think something happened during the labor. He didn't have enough oxygen. I don't know what actually happened. The doctors can't even tell. But when he came, he got stuck, actually. The shoulders got stuck. Midwife tried, maneuvered her way through. He came, finally. Baby wasn't crying. And time was wasted trying to bring him around. And it took about 45 minutes after delivery before they rushed him to NICU.
What were they doing during that time?
Well, they were trying to bring him back, resuscitate him. And he still didn't come around. He was turning blue. So they rushed him. And during that time, I don't even want to talk about what happened to me because I was left on my feet on the delivery bed. No one was attending to me.
When you had just had the baby?
Yes. And baby was rushed to NICU. And the next day, I was discharged from the hospital I gave birth. When I went to the NICU, the first thing that hit me from a medical officer, your child has brain damage. That was it.
They told you that?
She just said it. Well, your child suffered brain damage. And I couldn't take it. I asked the doctor, is it not too hard word to say to a new mom? She said, well, that is it. And at that point, my mind was blank. Everything was lost. I didn't know what it meant for a child to have brain damage.
Yeah.
I was just crying throughout. I didn't. Yeah. So from the beginning, the specialist tried to explain, but I had to.
Charlie, the way we discuss some news in this country can just throw you off. I tell you what, the reason I called you ladies to come here so we have this conversation is a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, has a child that's 3 years old. And I know she has a daughter. I've tried to visit her a few times, but I just never got around to do it. I don't remember what happened, but I say, hey, when can we see baby? And it's been years, so never seen her child. But she recently told me that her child has cerebral palsy. I didn't know this before. She didn't know before. As the child was developing, she just noticed some things about the child and went to the hospital, did an MRI, and she was told that the child was both autistic and has cerebral palsy. She was driving when her doctor friend called her to tell her. She crashed her car immediately.
Wow.
You know, and so I can only imagine what it means to be told that your precious little child is not going to be like a regular kid and grow up and have the experiences of a regular child. And ever since she told me this story, you know, I'm like, in Ghana, okay, so what do you do? How does she cope? Does she walk? And here's a fantastic story. Her child previously could not walk. And that was one of the reasons they went to the hospital. But apparently she took her to school one day. The child wasn't walking as usual. But she was like, she came back later to pick up the child, and the child was walking and running around.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, that's a miracle. And she said, yes. Because when you have a child with special needs, it's God that takes care of the child.
Oh, yes.
Like the doctors will tell you things, but it's really God that takes care of the child, because you wake up one day and something you never thought a child could do, boom. Yeah. The child can't just come around and start doing it. And I thought, well, that's a ray of hope. You know, I really wanted her to come here, but these things are difficult, and sometimes
you have her own time.
Yeah. You have to be ready to be able to talk about it. So the fact that you ladies have been able to come here to have this conversation with me is something that I'm not taking for granted or lightly at all. I really appreciate it.
I was telling Irene she's a star, because I couldn't talk about my son until he was about 3 or 4.
How old is your son?
7 now.
And what's the nature of his cerebral palsy?
He has so all 4 limbs affected, which means he's non-mobile. He doesn't really have autonomous movements, and he can't see and he can't talk. But those are the big things. When you say cerebral palsy and you say he can't talk, he can't walk, people think of the big things. But even sleep is a muscle control problem.
He can't sleep?
Not very well. You don't realize when they say it's a neuromuscular condition that everything you do with your muscles, including to swallow. Yeah. So my son can't chew. He can't chew anything. So we puree his food. So you're a 7-year-old who has pureed food like a baby, because that's his capacity. Sleep is often difficult because you have to use your muscles to control your eyes opening and closing. And because he can't see, sometimes telling day and night, if you can't tell day from night, you can't sleep. So sometimes the big things, is what people hear the big things, and they don't realize the smaller things there can be a problem. Yeah.
As a caregiver. Yeah.
Wow, it's more than we can know. You know, from the outside, yes. I think, okay, my friend's daughter cannot talk. And
That's
she
really the least of her worries.
But that's because then at night, you don't even know, you can't go to bed if your baby isn't going to sleep.
No. Yeah.
Does he cry? What does he do?
So, well, now he sleeps, but he doesn't sleep throughout the night entirely. And sometimes he will just lie there quietly.
What happens when he wakes up?
He just lies there quietly. He can lie there quietly for 2 hours.
How do you know he's awake?
We check on him throughout the night. So sometimes he's been up for hours. Sometimes he wake up and cry if he wants something. If he gets hungry, sometimes he might wake up and cry, and then you have to, in many cases, it's like a trial and error thing. So you give him water, it's not water, he still cries. Okay, you check his diapers, it's not wet. Okay, must be food. You just keep guessing until you hit the correct one, and he stops crying, and then, you know. And of course, because of all his challenges, potty training is not possible. He won't understand what you're teaching him, so we're still buying diapers. So yeah, there's a whole lot of things that we don't talk about. We just say the big things, and but there's so much more. Feeding takes about an hour at least because he can't swallow well, so you have to take your time. Yeah. So if you have to feed him, imagine you have like about 4 or 5 hours in your day solely for just feeding. Because he will choke if you try and push it down too quickly. So you have to take your time. So you can take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on whether he's hungry or just, yes. So you can
Does he always like the food you give him?
No. Food, everybody has, I mean, he's like a normal, any other kind of child. He has food he doesn't like. And he
can't tell you that I don't want to eat rice.
In my house, you don't have a choice. Whatever you eat what I serve you. But it'll take some time.
Wow.
So he doesn't like Otobi very much, but he has to
You figure it out as you go?
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. Like every parent.
Even for babies, it's tough. Even for babies, like, you know. Yeah. Deciding between this brand of cereal and that brand of cereal, or this brand of formula and that brand of formula is hard. Wow. So
I don't know if about Irene, but I go with the policy, if it doesn't hurt him, we'll try it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do say.
I can't wait to hear all about your story, because you have an infant toddler now? Infant. Going on 1.
Yes.
Infant. You're watching We Got This, and we're talking to Irene and Mommy, 2 truly strong moms, and they're sharing their experiences with their sons who have cerebral palsy. Stay tuned.
We got this.
When I open Frytol sunflower, nature comes to life. When I cook with Frytol sunflower, family comes to life. Nature gives to you in every drop, goodness in every bite. Nature gives to you in every drop, goodness in every bite.
Give to you in every drop.
Feels great to have a hearty, healthy family. Frytol sunflower cooking oil, also cholesterol free for tasty, healthy meals. Love your food, love your life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
We got this.
If you just joined us, you're watching We Got This, and I'm talking to Irene and Mommy, 2 awesome moms who are sharing some really revealing stories about raising children who have cerebral palsy. Now we've heard about your story, Mommy, and it sort of you know how you know that, okay, this child has cerebral palsy, so they can't walk and talk. But the little things are bigger, actually, than the big things that we think are the most important. Yeah. Irene, what is the nature of your son's cerebral palsy?
Okay, so I recently found out that he's a dystonic cerebral palsy. So he has kind of jittery movements. He's not stable. So he's all over. And he throws himself back a lot. So he has this involuntary movements a lot. Yeah. And he has a spasm, muscle spasms a lot. So, and in that case, it's only medication that helps and therapy. I mean, we are told there's only therapy that would help them thrive. You know, so yeah.
What kind of therapy?
Physiotherapy
for the baby.
All kinds of therapy.
What do you do at physiotherapy for a baby?
Okay, so they stretch his muscles. They with OT, they try to help him use his hand. Most of the children with cerebral palsy, they have fists, hands like that. They can't open. It's not an easy thing for them to do. It's a whole task, and it's very painful for them to even open one finger. Yes, so it needs therapy to help them, you know, and the medication helps their muscles to relax a bit, so that they don't get hurt during the therapy. Yeah, because when you are pulling let's say a tight muscle, if you don't take time, you just
think about arm wrestling with a really strong person.
Yeah,
that's what the child's muscles feel like. You literally have to wrestle the child's muscle sometimes. So
because it's stiff.
Yes.
It's stiff. And if the least mistake, you can just break a bone.
So that hard.
Yes.
That's what, imagine you're wrestling with Buko Baku. That's the imagery. You have to literally, and then you can see the muscle resisting your effort. So
but he's not doing it intentionally.
No.
So it's all from the brain.
These are messages your brain is telling you, for example, right now, to turn your head to whoever is speaking, and it's almost automatic.
Yeah.
But for our children, the messages are jumbled because the network isn't, connecting smoothly. So.
Wow. Yeah, it's hard for the child too. And do they understand what's happening? I guess not. Because they don't know anything else other than their reality.
I think when they are younger, they don't understand. Like a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, a baby doesn't really know. And sometimes it's difficult to tell if the baby is just being a baby. Or is a condition that is making the baby behave that way. You know, babies throw tantrums, they do that, and when they are not happy. But sometimes it might be the muscle really fighting, and it's difficult.
And this has been your son's life from day one?
Yes. From day one, actually, he didn't cry. For me, the first thing I wanted to see, my concern was his crying.
Yeah, you always, as soon as the baby comes out, you're like, why isn't he crying? Because
the baby was a quiet baby. When people ask me, I said, I'm so lucky.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
a law student and I have so much to do, and my baby just doesn't really cry.
You had your baby while we were in law school?
Yes.
Yes, the Faculty of Law.
Yes.
She was the coolest kid. She has a very fancy mommy. And everybody wanted to be her friend.
I see.
Wow. They wanted my notes, please.
Yeah, in law school, your notes are everything. So I'm just thinking how it must be for a mom who has just had a baby and family is expecting you at home. Everybody is eager to see your new baby, your perfect little child. That's one of the things. They say, so perfect. Yeah. That's what people say, when you have a baby. And then you have been told that your child has a brain damage without a proper explanation. Your journey home with your child, with your husband, if he was there, can you recount what happened? How was it for you?
Yeah, from the hospital, I'll just say the latter part, we spent, baby spent 20 days in the NICU, and that was a whole journey. Because he wasn't swallowing well. He couldn't even swallow, and I thought the next day he would die. Honestly, and bringing him home, he was still not crying. So the first time he cried was when we, what's the name? You know, babies, we cut the boy.
Circumcision.
Yes. That was the first time baby cried. That was after 3 months.
Your baby didn't cry for 3 months?
Yes.
Not a sound?
No.
Did he smile?
No. For the smiling, I even forgot about it for that. Because the specialist kept telling me, she kept asking, do you see baby smile? Does he even see you when you move?
Yeah.
Does he look at you when you are breastfeeding? They were forcing me to breastfeed. The other thing that really threw me into so much depression was my breast milk wasn't coming again. So it got dried up. And that was another, it was really
Tell
stressful.
me about it.
And
Oh, I had a nurse come and ask me if I was a cow.
If you were a cow?
Yes.
Literally?
Yes. She came and said, are you a cow? Why are you giving your children, your son cow's milk? First she criticized me for having a cesarean section because this small thing you couldn't push. And I said, it was an emergency cesarean section. It wasn't like I strove.
Not that it matters.
And even if I did, it's my choice.
Yeah.
Actually, I had scheduled a cesarean section, so I didn't care. Then she said, well, what are you feeding your child? And she saw Aptamil, are you a cow? Only cows give their children cow's milk. So if I give your children cow's milk, then you must be a cow. What are your breasts there for? I was sitting in 37, and I have a 5-day-old in an emergency care. I'm confused. They say he has jaundice and sepsis. I mean, they are throwing words I don't understand. And I have a nurse harassing me and calling me names. And then she checked the chart, and the doctor had written feed formula every 3 hours or something like that. The doctor has written it. So I just looked at her and said, you didn't even check.
What's the deal with...
She told me that
These are the things that drive new moms into depression.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to figure this thing out. You don't have it figured out. No. A lot of new moms don't have breast milk till like a couple of days. Yeah. Especially when you have a C-section. I had C-section for all my kids. And it doesn't come immediately like that.
She said the more educated that we were, the less breast milk we produce, because we thought
the more educated you are, the less breast milk you produce. Wow, that's the first. I need to sew that in a pillow. The more educated you are, the less breast milk you produce.
So apparently, because I'm very well educated, I was too fancy to do things other women did. So she was taking me on, and I was just so confused. I'm usually very outspoken, but for the first time I was so quiet, and my mother laughed at me later and said, "Child will humble you. Somebody who should see you and say hello, madam, will talk any way they want to you, and you just keep quiet. But you're so confused.
Yeah.
There's no empathy. There's no." Yeah. And they said brain damage. They don't even tell you what that means.
Exactly.
And that's not even correct.
It's not. I felt it was wrong, so I started crying, and the specialist needed to...
You were crying to the doctor? Who said that?
No, I just went out, and I was confused. I was sad. I don't know the words to use. Honestly, I was lost. So one nurse came out and called me because I didn't know what was happening. No one was explaining anything to me. So eventually, when the nurse came, she told me that, oh, the specialist is coming around. She is coming to explain everything and all that to me. So, and they had asked me to bring my stuffs and come and be with baby. They didn't even show me to sit here, to sleep here, there. I was just hanging around.
Oh, you had a bed?
Wait, they don't give you a bed?
37 plastic chair. I sat in mine for 5 days after the cesarean section.
Wow.
It's not true.
I count myself blessed.
I wish I had taken pictures of my legs. I was like, this is what elephantiasis must look like, because my feet didn't belong to me, they belonged to somebody else. No, new mothers are not treated well here. Yeah. I'm very happy for this show, so we can say all of these things.
It was that difficult. Later when the doctor called, even before that, she was wasting time, and I was eager to know what was happening to.
Did you hold the child?
I held him after, I think, after 12 days.
You didn't pick him up?
No.
Was that your decision?
No, they wouldn't allow you to pick baby
Why?
up. I don't know why. So when the specialist came, the senior pediatrician came, she said, no, mommy has to hold
skin to
baby
skin
and all that.
Yeah.
Even giving breast milk, because I could express the breast milk. And they were giving chest thoughts to baby. So
is it because he couldn't swallow it?
They were scared. You know, they were feeding him
through the tube.
Yes, so they were a bit scared baby would choke. And the most one thing that I was so much afraid of is baby getting choked, because he easily aspirated. Even now, it's better, but the least mistake he will aspirate. And that is the scariest thing that I ever experienced. Because yes, when I brought baby home, those were the things I was experiencing. And for me, when I sleep, I couldn't even sleep because I was scared.
How will you sleep?
And at a point, I have to tell you, I felt I should just wake up and baby is gone. That would be better.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same for you?
Yep.
Because
I telling my husband, am I getting done? Because
I plan to run out. Even when I came and I saw baby, the food through his nose, his eyes, you know, like that, I felt he was dead. So I just ran out, and my mom was around. So he asked me, why? What is it? So mommy rushed in and said, are you serious? And I said, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I can't even sleep in the room.
Oh, no.
And it's been quite a journey.
Do you have support or help?
Now, yes. Initially, my mom had been around since day one, but at a point I had to ask her to leave.
Why?
She was adding to my depression. And it's funny, but that was the time that I really needed help, because it was just 2 weeks to resume work, and I had to make a decision to let her go. That was really hard.
But you're fine, right?
I am. Just when she left, I got an angel come to my home to help.
So you have help now?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm thankful to God for that.
How's your relationship with your husband? Does this affect your marriage?
At a point, I mean, I recount a time where baby was having seizures, and I knew those could be seizures.
Were you told you might experience seizures?
You know, for me, when I just heard that, I started reading. So I've read everything. I've read everything about neonatal seizures, cerebral palsy, everything. So I had some kind of prognosis for my child. You know, it could be this or that. From the way they were explaining things, I didn't know what to expect. And they were not even telling me. I don't know if I'll be able to remember all the things, but I try to forget some so I can live a normal life, because the more I think about it, it really throws me back in. I get so mad.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? How you ladies are sitting over here and talking to me and even smiling. Irene has been smiling since she got here. I don't know how you're doing it. And I'm sure a lot of moms watching us right now who have similar situations, or if you know someone who has a similar circumstance, you're probably wondering how these mamas are so strong and are doing it. When we come back, they'll share how exactly they're able to survive it and thrive. Stay tuned.
We got this.
When I open Frytol sunflower, nature comes to life. When I cook with Frytol sunflower, family comes to life. Nature gives to you in every drop, drunkenness in every bite.
to have a hearty, healthy family. Frytol Sunflower Cooking Oil. Also cholesterol free for tasty, healthy meals. Love your food, love your life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
We got this.
You're welcome back. You're watching We Got This because we got this. I'm talking to two really cool moms, and so far I feel like really inspired and empowered to own life circumstances and thrive no matter what life throws at you. Now, Irene and Mami have shared stories about their awesome sons, and I just have one question. How are you doing it? Give us some of it. Irene, Mami, like give us some of it. How are you doing it? How are you not tired, or are you?
Okay, so I think my son smiles. When he started smiling, really gave me so much hope.
When did he start smiling?
I think when he was 8 months old, he started giving, real smile. Because sometimes I think when some of the seizures triggers some kind of smile, but it's not.
Yeah.
And when he really started giving me that eye contact, it wasn't proper, like correct eye connection. But then he would just turn, and when he hears my voice, he smiled. And for the first time, I was so excited. I felt, I got this.
You got this.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Because I waited for so long. And I'm a very happy person. I try as much. I can laugh and roll over here. That's me. I keep everyone, excited every time. But this one really got to me. At some point, I felt I couldn't, be myself any longer. But
has it changed you as a person?
Yes, a lot.
How?
And I think it's still changing me. I am such an impatient person. I want things, I want to see things happening so fast, and I can be very critical. You can't do this. This can't happen. This, that. But I think now I'm handling things, gracefully. And not perfect, but I think I'm getting there. And it makes me more considerate, and a little bit patient. I'm getting there. The patience is not perfect.
It's coming.
Yes.
Because you have to take your time with your child.
Yes, even feeding him.
Yeah, Mommy was just saying it takes an hour to feed
bathing him. It's a whole process.
They don't like water?
No, you have to. I mean, your baby.
For me, he is very, jittery. So he's all over.
Is he able to hold himself?
Sorry?
Is he able to hold himself? Can he sit?
No.
He can't sit?
No. So he has a loose trunk. So he's like that.
That would be a little more complicated. Yeah.
You have to hold him. Even, I think he started rolling backwards. But he started having seizures or noticed. Because he sleeps and he cries and wakes up. We didn't realize that was seizures. So I started reading again. And I realized that, no, they were seizures, actually seizures. So I spoke to the doctor. I had a whole experience with my doctor. But I sometimes do research and I show it to her. She's a very open person. So I do my own research. If one medication or something is not helping, I do my own research and I send it to her. Can we try this? Because I'm not a medical person, I wouldn't know the repercussions and all that. So I ask for help. Then she tells me, okay, we can do this.
And it's helping?
It's helping.
Okay.
Actually, he was on one medication that was giving him a bad feedback. Terrible one. And it was very terrible. He was, I don't know, I felt I was losing he was stiffened, his muscles were getting more stiffer and he would cry And my nanny was getting frustrated because she didn't know how to
understand either.
Yes.
Only care for sleepy children should be a whole new topic on this.
Yeah. She was getting
are there special nannies for children with special needs, or you just try your luck until you get a good one?
It's mostly try your luck. Now there are some
professional
agencies that are giving nurses.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole backlog of nurses who haven't got any placement. So now you get, but even then, sometimes they are still waiting to get to the main hospital.
So they are just hanging out
yes,
here.
so not all of them are as committed, but
yeah,
you can get, and it costs a lot more.
It costs the money involved and all that.
It's expensive. Yes. Does it take a toll on your? Is it expenses that you can?
No, it's not expenses anybody can swallow.
No,
at least not in unless you earn some serious money.
Because most of the things you need for the child to feel a bit comfortable has to be shipped in. Yeah. You won't get it in Ghana, even when you won't have the money. And the money is not when you have, I mean, I was looking for just a stroller, particular stroller to help him because of his kind of cerebral palsy. And that amount, maybe I wouldn't want to talk about it here.
How do you travel with him? If
4,000 pounds?
£4,000 for a wheelchair? Is it a special kind
really
of wheelchair?
Close to 4,000
It's a special kind of wheelchair. So how as a child gets older, I mean, your child is a year old and your child is 7, but they are going to grow up and be.
So we've changed his wheelchair. So we had one and then he outgrew it, and you have to buy a new one.
But for me, that is what I feel. Like, it puts some kind of fear in me.
You're afraid for
the
future?
And as much as, yes, I'm enjoying him now, that I always pray to God, let me see this. He's smiling every day. That one alone is enough. But sometimes I just think about he's growing. And the future, what it's going to be, how is it going to be. It brings some kind of fear.
I honestly wish I could tell you it gets easier. I truly wish I could tell you. But you get stronger and you get smarter.
I pray.
You get more committed. You've kept my life for a year. You're going to let it go now. Yeah, you get more committed. You get more creative.
Yeah.
But you do get tired. You ask that question. You get tired.
You do.
You get care fatigue. There are days you just like, why couldn't I just have a baby? You just run around by now and could be sending you go and make diapers for your sister and stuff like. Why couldn't you do it? You still have those questions. They never grow old. Yeah. In my case, when he was 3 and a bit, we had he suddenly started crying. He would cry every night. So I'm about 6 months pregnant and I'm holding, and his muscles are jerking. I told you, imagine a macho man you're wrestling with. So you have his thigh muscles and they're just jerking, and you have to hold his leg down all through the night. So if I had to go to the bathroom, pregnancy and bathroom calls, then my husband would take over and hold his leg, while I go and pee, come back, hold his leg, so, and he has to have 2 surgeries. It's a whole complex process, but the moment they are not in pain, and it took about a year or so for my son to smile again after the surgeries, and one day he just smiled and said, yes.
He's back.
Yes, and occasionally you get even I don't know, is it a chuckle? Is it a chortle? You can't even tell that. He has some kind of and we are all so excited. You have those moments and you just say, let me just keep pushing at this point.
There's no going back,
no.
So my friend I was telling you about, she tells me that one of her greatest fears as a mom is that her child is going to grow up and she's not going to experience life like other teenage girls would. Like, will she find love? Will she have a boyfriend? Will she have people in her life who want to come take her out sometime? Will she ever want to go to the beach or swim and things like that? And right now she's enjoying her little girl, but she fears for the future. Is that something you think about?
Not even the future. I remember thinking, wow, so there's no graduation for me. There's no cute graduation gown and my son going into class 1. There's no speech and prize giving day for me. There's no birthday, to be honest, because he can't understand what's going on, and actually the birthdays and the noise and all that used to scare him a lot. So you can't even have balloons. So the basic things, you don't realize just how much you will lose out. But there's a book I don't remember who wrote it. I haven't actually read it. The title, let me be by it. And it's called You Will Dream New Dreams. And it for me, it echoed everything that, it's like, you are going to have to dream new dreams for your child. You cannot, you'll be in despair if you think of weddings and outdooring, and you to be a grandma. It's not going to happen, right? It's not about not having faith. It's about being realistic. To say you don't have faith, and people mistake being realistic and praying realistically for being resigned and accepting. But I mean, if you are going Christian, Jesus didn't pray to jump off the cross and refuse to go on the cross. There are some you have to go through, right? Yes, yeah. And for me, not despairing has been about trying to dream new dreams, trying to look for new goals, and you have setbacks because, like I said, the hip surgeries, he had to have metal put into his legs and all sorts of things. It set us back because when your child is in pain, they can't learn new things. He's in pain.
Yeah.
So even what we had, we lost, and we've now started getting back some of our head control, our neck control, and our movements. But you don't try to dream too big. Yeah. I think that's, if anybody's watching, that's the thing I say: don't dream too big. Enjoy the small things. So he can lift his head up for 10 seconds. My mother will call me and tell me, today Papa lifted his head 10 seconds, and I'm on the phone. I'm like, yeah. Tomorrow we'll try for 11 seconds or something like that. If that's what you will get.
Yeah.
Right. There's no point in being in despair that all. So it's either you say, all I got, the only thing I got was my son can raise his head for 10 seconds, or you can say, wow, today he raised his head 10 seconds, because some days it's only 2 seconds you can get.
Yeah.
So it's, you get tired, you get frustrated, you get all the things that everybody else gets, and you feel even worse than other parents, and because you feel like you are giving up on your child. And as Irene said, if sometimes you're holding the money, there's no service, you can't buy it. It doesn't exist in Ghana. So you have to be, even when you have the money, it's not here. So you can imagine when you don't have the money.
Yeah.
You do what you can for your child, and you try
and
to
love them.
Yeah.
What would you say to other moms that are watching us now, who are just trying to figure this out, who are probably in despair and they think maybe, life isn't even worth living?
Oh, yes, I think I went through that period.
You went through that?
Yeah. You get to a point where you ask yourself, what's all of this for? Then you do all of this and then you decide you die too on top. What's the point? You get through all of these things, but
how are you able to say that? Like,
no, you do. You do go through some really scary moments in your head.
You come to that point, honestly. For me, sometimes I ask myself, how did I get here? Because right from the hospital, I felt my world had come to an end. Like, there wasn't anything to live for. I mean, I think every mother, who have experienced this go through that. Yeah. And you just don't know how you are going to go about it. But I think anyone watching us now it's not easy to come to that point. But one thing I console myself in so much, it's happened. You have a choice. It's unfortunate that some parents are unfortunately killing their children because of the condition they have.
What do you mean killing?
Yeah, they are literally
murdering.
Yes. They can't handle the stress. It's very stressful. And for me, I applaud Mame for keeping, not just keeping, when I say keeping, loving a child, knowing his challenges. His challenge is your challenge, because if he's not well, you are not. And for me, for your child to get better, not to do what every other child does, but to get better, let me put it that you, the mother or the parent, had to be of a sound mind. Yeah. And it all boils down to accepting the situation. A lot of parents refuse to accept. Yeah. That was a bit of a struggle between my husband and I. Yeah. And we are people of faith. And for me, I always want to be real. Having faith doesn't mean that certain things cannot happen to you. I define faith as I am meeting the situation and then facing it. And facing it not because with this, what we are going through, it's not by our own strength.
No.
Left to me alone, I don't know, my personality, I worry so much. I'm someone who has so many anxiety. The little thing really gets to me.
And yet here you are, getting stronger every day.
I just don't know.
And basking. Can I tell you something, like, honestly? I wasn't very sure how to talk to you today. Like, when I called Mommy, what did I tell you? I wasn't sure how to talk to you today. I was very nervous about this episode because, first of all, I didn't think I even had the right to even want to talk to you or say anything, because what am I going to say to you? But when I saw you, you were like, oh, you're just smiling and getting your makeup done. And I was like, okay, this is good. And so thank you for being so strong. And thank you for being the happy one in the room, like the one who's actually lighting everybody up. You're really strong, and I really appreciate you both so much for coming and for sharing. And I know certainly that you have helped many women today.
We hope so. We hope so.
Yeah.
So just before, I was just to say, one of the things that mothers of children with disabilities struggle with is feeling inadequate. Yeah. Especially when you have other children, you know, the guilt of giving one more attention than the other, or not doing that. If anybody's watching, you are more than enough. You are doing the best you can, and that's all that your child is asking of you. Just, you know, don't kill yourself.
Don't beat yourself up.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up over this. You are more than enough. As long as every day you get up and you move and you're doing the best you can for your child, that's the best you can do.
Yeah.
Don't give up on your child, because they do some amazing things. You know, they didn't give my son to 3 years. He's 7. You know, wow. and I took him to the hospital one day and I said, Papa, pejauti. And he was doing the same, and he raised his head. The teacher was writing at the time. I didn't realize he had stopped, and he was just looking at my son, and then he just put the pen down and started clapping.
Aww.
And he said, this is more that you have no idea, because if you knew, you know, if you understood the damage that was done to his brain, and you see what he's doing now, you realize it's not possible. They would never have given him even that basic function, pejauti, and he responds. He just stared. He said, children can amaze you. And he told me, this is why I'm a pediatrician, because children can amaze you. So if you are watching your mama, don't give up on your child. They can shock you with some things that and they can defy every doctor's predictions. Yeah. So just keep going.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely.
Try and bring them out. Some are scared bringing their babies out and all that.
I guess what I would say is just live, you know, and let them live. And enjoy every day as it comes, and enjoy the little wins, like you have said. That smile, that raising up of head, you know.
It's heaven to me.
It's heaven. I can imagine. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you.
This has been great. Thank you. And thank you for watching. I hope that this episode has helped you or someone you know. This is our show, and here we share and we learn from sharing. And from sharing, I believe we get stronger. We got this.
Give up. It only makes us stronger. Whatever you do, do them well. Make it no worry. We go stay okay, we go be alright. No, Inyami, go chichino. Inyami, ban your faith. Inyami, walk on Jano. Kenya faith, oh ban your faith. Inyami, go chichino. Inyami, ban your faith. Inyami, walk on Jano. Kenya faith, oh ban your faith. 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 We got this. Kenya faith, oh ban your faith.
We Got This Africa, proudly brought to you by Frytol. Frytol, you deserve to be well.